Should you summon for Teen Nanami? Short answer, yes. I'd say you should, because he just provides so much extra damage for the red typing. Even though red didn't really need it, he's absolutely disgusting. He does good damage, and the buffs he provides are absolutely insane. However, if you've noticed, all 3 of the units that come out for this event, all the like hidden inventory units, so that's Domain Gojo, Teen Shoko, and this Teen Nanami, they're all really, really strong. Domain Gojo is one of the best DPSs in the game. Green Teen Shoko is the best green support outside of, like, you know, Teen Geto arguably, but she's just ridiculous because of her stat buffs and her own survivability and her heals. She's goofy strong, and this Teen Nanami as well is better than all of the adult Nanamis, which I'm not gonna lie, is kind of messed up. But should you summon for him? Probably, and I'll say why. Obviously, if you're a free to play, you're going to be struggling because, you know, you've got 2 great green units that come out. Shoko's kind of the most necessary out of the 2, but the less flashy, so you're going to want to pull for Gojo, but I'd highly suggest pulling for Shoko if you can. Red is a typing that you don't necessarily need to buff more, right, if we're completely honest, because red is one of the stronger categories in the game, because, you know, like, we've got friggin' Domain Gojo, Toji, Yuji, SP, Nobara, Mai's a great debuffer, Yuta, of course, my goat, but Teen Nanami is disgusting, right? Obviously, they're not there in the SSR section, but obviously you've got the best buffer in the game, or one of the best. SR Yaga is still viable just because of how crazy his numbers are, but this dude, he can do really, really strong damage alongside significantly increasing your entire team's damage. Like, just looking at the skills, I remember, right, when I clicked through this stuff for the first time, I was flabbergasted by just the buffs he provides consistently, right? He does rely on cursed energy a lot, but even still, just look at that. 90%. Yes, it is on cooldown, like SSR Maki's SP stuff. Like, there's a bunch of moves that are like on cooldown a lot now, but 90% for 4 turns, which will be stacked with his skill 2, which is 50%, on top of his ult, which is another 50%, on top of the 20%. Like, this dude is going to be buffing the entire red team while debuffing the enemy. Obviously, he's much better for, like, you know, it's not like a group debuff like SR Gakuganji, but the buffs are team-wide. The debuffs aren't, but the buffs are, for the most part, which is, like, still disgusting. Just looking at these numbers, it's disgusting. So let's go through the kit, because normally with characters, I'd, like, compare and contrast the differences between the different units of the same character. Like, for example, like, if you wanted me to talk about Green Yuji, I'd compare him to the other SSR Yujis and compare their kits, because a lot of them are very similar. With Teen Nanami, his kit is so far removed from all the other Nanamis, it's very strange. Like, for example, Green Nanami is a self-buffer who relies on black flashes and is, like, a very hit-or-miss unit. He can do a lot of damage, or he can't. It's very RNG based, but this dude can't even black flash, so you're not waiting on RNG. But that's how most Nanamis work, right? Most Nanamis in the game, aside from, like, SR Nanami, rely on RNG from black flashes to do damage. But this dude isn't even a DPS, or, like, that's not his main focus, right? He is a support, okay? Like, the only comparison I can make with the adult Nanamis is that this dude also does hybrid damage. That's, like, split straight down the line for the most part, except for this one, which is Taijutsu. I think all the other ones is Taijutsu, Jujutsu, same again. He can do a surprising amount of damage, as I've just said, right? But you aren't going to be using him for that. You are going to be using him more so for the buffs he provides, right? So let's go through his kit. So his skill 1, obviously, you're never going to be defaulting to skill 1s for, like, 99.9% of units for the most part. So they're always, like, a backup option. But for the backup option, this is a really strong one. Like, 100%, that's nothing, right? 100% damage, who cares? But increasing crit rate by 45% for 3 turns, that's good. That's pretty strong. It's not the best skill 1, but it's far from the worst, right? His skill 2, this is the good stuff, right? 150% Taijutsu damage is nothing special, right? And he can't black flash, so that's all you're getting. But increasing the damage dealt to the enemy by 50%, what the oh my god, that's disgusting. And it goes for 4 turns, which means it can stack multiple times. He is very cursed energy heavy, but that is still a really big number. And of course his skill 3, as I was saying before, it goes on cooldown. It is a hybrid attack that slightly buffs himself by 15%, increases the break damage taken, I didn't even see that, but it increases the damage dealt by your entire team by 90%, which is disgusting. That's filthy. That's genuinely filthy. It's so strong, it's on cooldown, right? And his ultimate, like, these aren't huge percentages. Ooh, it increases it by 30%. He can do surprising amount of damage, but as I say, the buffs he provide outweighs, like, wanting him to do more damage. The closest comparison I would make with this character is Teen Geto, where it's like, yes, Teen Geto, if you solely use him as a DPS, he can hit impressive numbers, but that's not your goal. His main job is a support, so I would suggest using memories to support that. His ult increases, you know, all damage dealt by 50%, which is, yet again, disgusting. Like, these are all buffs. These aren't debuffs, which is really strong, right? So he isn't debuffing a single enemy. He's just buffing the entire team, which is disgusting. Yes, it's hybrid damage, sure, but increases damage received, which is a debuff, which is a single enemy debuff, which is fine, but it's only 20%. You're still giving that to the entire team, which is filthy, right? He gives cursed energy to everyone, just like both Shoko co-op effects. Nothing crazy, but it's really nice. The extra 20 cursed energy helps with his kit a lot. You know, you use the co-op effect, you get an extra 20 cursed energy. That's a guaranteed skill too. Well, a skill 3 actually, because you're going to get 10 at the start of the next turn, which is really good. His auto skills, 30 cursed energy at the 6th turn, and just more stats they're not like on a turn, so they're just full on, just increased stats to increase your own damage, which is really nice. Like a lot of the other teen unit, I guess to facilitate the fact that he can't hit black flashes, whenever he crits, he increases his own crit rate, and he also increases his own stats, and he also gives himself 5 cursed energy. This is literally just a black flash in the zone effect, except he can't hit a black flash, so it's just crits instead. It just looks very similar to Green Nanami's critical hit enhancement that he's also got. But overall, should you summon for this unit? Yes. As I say, it is very difficult in this game to be a free-to-play person, right? I'm going to try to be more free-to-play because I don't have much money, but being a free-to-play is very difficult because, as I said, just in this event alone, we have got one of the best red units, like one of the better red supports, right? Granted, I wouldn't say he's a necessity. I'd say Shoko. Out of the 3 units that have come out, Teen Nanami, well, going to come out for this event, Teen Nanami, Teen Shoko, Teen Gojo, I'd say out of all 3 of them, prioritize Shoko, because she just makes the green mono team 10 times better, because as I've said, the illusory tower flaws, like, they're focused on mono teams exclusively, so she is a necessity for survivability. Teen Gojo, the green one, I'd say he's the least of the 3 that you need, but he is such a ridiculous DPS, so like that if you pull him off tickets, you are singing. Like, he's a great unit, but since we're getting so many units in such a short period of time, I would say go Shoko, then Nanami, especially if you don't have Domain Gojo. If you do not have Domain Gojo, pull for Teen Nanami, right? But also, actually I don't know, because Domain Gojo is also getting a rerun, but out of those 3, stick on those 3. I'd say Shoko, then Nanami, then Gojo. And that because all 3 of these units are really strong. It's just such a shame that they're coming within such close proximity of each other. Because I'd suggest you get all 3 of these units, because they're all limited, which is really annoying, because they're all like, you know, hidden inventory units. So they're not going to join the standard pool for a very long time. But yeah, should you summon for this unit? Yes, if you can. If you've pulled Shoko, go for Nanami. Right, as I say, out of those 3, Shoko's like the strongest, but if you've pulled Shoko, save up for Teen Nanami with these next few events, and then if you manage to pull Nanami, maybe the Gojo banner might still be running, and then pull Gojo if you still can off that. But that's if you're really lucky. If you manage to pull Teen Shoko and Teen Nanami, you've probably already got Teen Gojo, because you've just got godlike RNG. But whatever. That's the video. Overall, should you summon for him? Ideally, yes. Let me know your thoughts on whether or not you should summon for him, but that's the video. Toodles my doodles, hope you see you in the next one. Peace.